So what a win for Waterford. I'm glad I have Michael Carton back on the show because I'm the only one that tipped them last Thursday. I don't often get to brag about this, Mick. But Jesus, by easily I thought the better team.
Oh, they were brilliant, Wooly. I knew you'd bring this up, by the way. No, I thought it'd be close, but no, I didn't think the match was close in the end. I thought Waterford were unbelievable from start to finish. Obviously, Tip tracked them back towards the end, but I think that was more Waterford taking the foot off the gas a little bit. But yeah, some display.
It was an absolutely brilliant display. Like Liam Cal, you can't stress this enough, Paul, is he took over Waterford. They hadn't won a game for 2 years, a championship game. Look at the list of who he's beaten now. They've beaten Cork, Clare, Kilkenny, Galway and Tipperary in the championship. And Laois as well. Now, but the games that they wouldn't have been... they weren't expected to beat any of those 5 teams.
Yeah.
And they've beaten all of them.
Yeah.
Or maybe they were expected to be Clare in the quarter-final, but it wouldn't have been that much in it. They hit 325 from play with 13 different scores. This is a phenomenal turnaround.
Yeah, it's huge. And it seems to be Liam Cal has a way that he knows he wants to play rather than basing the way he's going to play around his players. He goes, this is the way we want to play. We've seen it with the underage teams that Liam Cal has produced in Tipperary as well, that he knows what way he wants to play, and it doesn't seem to faze him that if a player drops out, the system he plays, it doesn't matter if a player drops out of that system, like Tyg de Burka, best example of it, Pádraig Manny, he doesn't mind with that, because it's once the players understand the system, it's a full 15 players, it's the subs coming off the bench, and they slot in so seamlessly into it that it's not a case that he needs his big players. And what I think a big thing that Liam Cal has done is he has so many players hurling well around the pitch. Nobody is putting the pressure on Austin Gleeson to now perform, and Austin Gleeson, we've seen him kind of start slowly into games, but he comes into the game then because there's so much happening on the pitch. Liam Cal has his team so well set up that he just deserves huge credit for what he's done. He's completely transformed the way we look at Waterford. We no longer look at Waterford and go, it's Austin Gleeson, it's Tyg de Burka. We're more talking about like Desi Hutchinson and Stephen Bennett and these lads, and it allows Austin Gleeson these ways to go off and just hurl away. So he deserves huge credit for what he's done.
Yeah, he deserves absolutely. And he turned Peter Hogan into a midfielder now as well, and bloody another brilliant performance from him. He's turned Shane Bennett into a centre back, a sweeping centre back, which was Tyg de Burka's. Yeah, you mentioned missing Pádraig Manny, missing Tyg de Burka. It can't be under stressed, I suppose, Mick. He doesn't probably get the high profile that some other managers does, and he deserves it.
No, we spoke about this last week, Willie, of Liam's brave calls. Like Jack Prendergast. Jack Prendergast has been unbelievable. Peter Hogan. The work rate he gets out of these two names, and they're not well-known names around Ireland. And he has a real team player. He's so motivational on the sideline, and he looks like a manager you'd love to play for. And you can see it out on the pitch, the work rate he gets out of his Waterford lads. And as Paul said, there's no one man. If one man doesn't play well, it doesn't make a difference to Waterford because the next player will come in seamlessly and play well. So he's getting fantastic work rate, and they're buying into his game plan all over the pitch. So it's brilliant to see, brilliant to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, Jack Prendergast is a big one. And the improvement in him is sensational. He really likes that game plan. And Patrick Curran now, instead of being a scoring corner forward, can now be a worker. He can turn any man into a worker. He could probably turn me into a working forward. What was the confusion over the Gleeson penalty here, Paul? Explain this to me, because I think a non-hurling person understands this penalty more than a hurling person. That's what it looks like to me.
I think just on first glance it was tough to figure out because there was a lot happening, and we traditionally look at for it to be a clear-cut penalty, a trip, a drag or whatever. So even when we look back at it, like if it was the flick of the hurl out of the hand, fine, that's the penalty. But I think we were all looking for something a bit more. People, like you said, a neutral might look at it and go, oh sure, that's a free, that's fine.
But that is a free you can't knock the hurl out of someone else's hand.
It is a free. I just think we were all looking for something a bit more, that there was something that we didn't see maybe in it. But there wasn't much. Tipperary didn't protest it, and even after the game there wasn't much people asking questions. People were really just looking for clarification. What was it exactly? But I don't think it changed the complexion of the game. Waterford were still threatening, and it was a good call out of Colm Lyons. I think it's just the fact we wanted a small bit of clarification, but it does seem to be that it was the flick of the hurl out of the hand. It needed a few replays to have a look to say, okay, that's actually what the penalty was for.
Yeah, it was easily missed, Mick, I suppose, because there was a lot happening, in front of the goals, and then your probably focus was on Austin going to kick the ball into the net, and it was like, when did he lose the hurl? On the first replay, I thought Brian had tapped his hurl out of his hand.
Yeah, in real time, Wooly, I thought that's a penno all day long. And I thought Barry Hogan, it looked like a big swipe across the body. And then when you watched it back in the replay, there was very little in it, but it was enough to knock the hurl out of his hand. But look, harsh enough penalty, I thought. In real time, we're lucky enough to see a replay and see it, but I thought it was harsh enough in the end.
Right, okay, and the referee in general was brilliant though, right? Very few frees in it. We got our flow back, Paul, and the advantage for the Hutchinson goal. Yeah. Very few referees wouldn't have pulled that free up on Curran there. It was a very cynical free. Yeah. To break up a goal scoring opportunity, and he left the layout like a rugby offload.
He left it on. In fairness, Colm Lyons, and it was something I thought after the match. I mean, he deserves huge credit for it, and I'm saying this for a man who sent me off in my day. He deserves great credit for the match he played, and he used wicked common sense. Like you said, he let it play on that small bit, and we weren't talking about him during the match. It was only afterwards he realised, once you look back at the scores and like you said, the advantage that he did give from, you kind of realise that was a brilliant game from a referee, because we weren't talking about him during it making mad calls or anything. There was no yellow cards as well, which isn't a point in favour or against. I just thought it was interesting because it was a very physical match, but maybe just erred on the side that players were going in hard, but there was no malice in any of the tackles, different things like that. Maybe players also didn't consistently keep fouling. There was no one player that you thought was consistently fouling. But no, he had a brilliant game, and he really deserves huge credit. This is one or two games now he's after putting together that's been really good. So he deserves. We're often here after these big games, complimenting players, and I think the referee deserves huge compliments in this game.
Yeah, he definitely does.
I think refs, Wooly, I think refs have a game plan to start of the year because they're so bad throughout the league, and they're saying, right, let's get slated here and no one will touch us for the championship, because the difference between league and championship is incredible. And same rules, I can't understand how it's so different come championship.
But that was the point I was going to make. Why are they acting the bollocks during the league then? Why are they doing it? That everyone could see that game. And a non-hurling person like myself said, just that's fantastic now. He's not blowing up out and messing. That's hurling. Yeah. Why are they messing with that? Why do we even have those conversations in the league? Why do we get so panicked that the game's gone?
Well, I think they're given a set of rules, and it's always trialled for the league. So any rules that come in, it comes in for the league. And they're forced, and I think they just talk and say, listen, this is what we're going to have to go with. Play it to the letter of the law, and show the committees who pick these things, this is what you're asking us to do. And the uproar then, I think, actually benefits them, that later in the season they can come back together. I'm sure they meet regularly and say, this is the feedback we're getting. Yeah. And the advantage rule was the big thing, that we were seeing so many frees, it was killing it. I think they deserve, huge credit, that they must have come together and said, look, this is obviously killing it. It's not making for a spectacle. We're getting enormous hardship over this as well. And they've now readjusted. So as opposed to turning around and saying, why are they so hard at the start of the league? I think they're given a set of rules and they go, well, this is the rules we're given. Turn around and show the GA committees who make these rules, look, this is what you're giving us. Yeah. This is what's happening to the game. And now let's not do this for championship. Comes to championship and they show what they can do for matches if you just let them officiate the way they want to officiate. I think that's what we're seeing, so they're really, I suppose, sticking it back to the committees. I could be wrong, but that seems to be what's happening in the league, and it comes to championship and they're going, if you let us rule it away by what we judge is the ruling, these are the matches we'll produce. Yeah,
that might make a bit of sense. Think of all the night's sleep hurling people lost during the league, though. That was that was a very worrying time for people. It was a bad
time. We were in a recession there in the league.
We definitely were. Come here, Mick. What did you make of Sheedy on the sideline? I have to talk about this because he's doing my head in. And I've nothing against Liam Sheedy. I quite like him, but the celebration when Paddy Maher hit Shane Bennett, the man looked to the skies. It was way over the top, and it's like, what's he achieving doing that? Why is he doing it? He never used to do it. And what's going on with him? Is he playing to the camera with this carry-on?
I think Tip are struggling more than they ever have, Wooly, and he thinks they need it. Where years past they mightn't have needed him being so animated on the sideline all the time. And I think this team, that performance looked like an old performance for me for Tip. They'd only 3 players under the age of 25 on the pitch. They looked like their legs were going. And now I'm not saying they need a huge overhaul, but they do need young lads to come in and perform. And I think he's seen this on the sideline and said, they need me to motivate them. Whereas prior to this, I don't think they needed as much. So I think that's what it's all about, just trying to get the most out of his team because they need it.
Right. And do you think that would work? I can imagine being on the field in a championship match, looking at my manager celebrating a shoulder and looking up to the heavens. I'd roll my eyes.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because especially those big matches like that in Páirc Uí Chaoimh or wherever, the only time you look to the sideline, or the only time I would have ever looked to the sideline, if I hear my name actually being shouted that I know I'm going to get a bollocking from the sideline or something, I don't look over to the sideline for some sort of a, something to G me on that, okay, have to, if you don't know to do that yourself on the pitch, or if you don't know to react when a point goes over or a block goes in yourself, to look to the sideline. Look, again, Liam Sheedy is a passionate man, and maybe he felt he had to draw that small bit more out of players.
But you can't just turn passionate now. He didn't always do that. So maybe is he overacting? Like Liam Cahill does it, and when I see Liam Cahill doing it, I think there's a more genuine thing, because his team is all based around that high intensity thing. That's not really Tipperary's game, isn't based off that. It was a hit we saw Paddy Maher doing 101 times, and the man acted like it was a last minute bloody goal.
Yeah. Well, look, here certainly you have a point there that it did seem to be a little bit more than we would traditionally see from Liam Sheedy, and the cameras were loving it because the cameras were all over it any time it seemed to happen. So it seems to be a new thing over the last year or two that the cameras are panning to managers on the sideline. It's like American football nearly, looking for these big reactions. But no, you do have a point. It is something we haven't traditionally seen from Liam Sheedy, but maybe it's something he thought that maybe he could pull something from the players, and that's what he decided to go with.
Yeah, we're all up for it or whatever like that. I don't. This is going to seem like I'm over the top harsh on Liam Sheedy, but I have some problems with what he said after the game then as well. Like, I mean, he says, and I'd say a lot of people question the character I had in that dressing room. These guys were too old and they were this and that. I tell you one thing, they gave some answer today. That's a top quality group and a top quality bench to come in, and top quality guys who didn't make the 26 today. Now, I don't know one person that questioned that Tipperary dressing room's character, because it's just not a question mark over them. Their character speaks for themselves. A lot of them have won 3 All-Irelands. Definitely most of them have won 2. So I don't know where he's getting that. Tipperary lost this game. They gave their answer today. Tipperary were favourites. Like, I went against the grain with you and Paddy. Like, Tipperary were the favourites to win it. Like, since when do Tipperary, a manager, try and twist a loss like that, where you're favourites to win, into I think the lads gave the answer there today? Like, I mean, is this how far Tipperary have fallen, Mick, that Liam Sheedy is praising his team for losing a match they were expected to win?
Oh, there's a few things I see with that, Wooly, when I read it. I thought, like, one, he tries to say ultra positive all the time, Liam Sheedy. In all his interviews, he very rarely goes negative. But there's times where you just have to be straightforward and say you weren't good enough. And it also sort of seems to me that he's looking he wants to stay on the job next year. Like that's what it seems to me, where with the way he was speaking, he's sort of putting it out there saying, I want to stay and I'll get more out of this team. But like from his actions over the last few weeks, like the half time when Tip were coming in against Limerick and he was clapping them all off and he was over exaggerating everything, I think he's seen the right numbers on the wall, that we're not where we should be, and this is what I have to do this to get the most out of them. I think that's why we haven't seen that before out of Liam. But for me, I think it looks like he wants to stay on, and that was just letting people know that I think I can stay on and get more out of these.
Yeah, well, he's like, I mean, it sounded like they wanted a moral victory. Even Cheddar, after Laois losing to Waterford, said, we don't want a moral victory. I don't want to be praising. And this is, Laois, who wouldn't have been expected. They don't want praise. We're tired of these moral victories. I just couldn't believe it. They've won 2 championship matches in 6 years, in 6 matches. 2 wins in 6 matches since they won the All-Ireland.
Yeah.
And you could make an argument to say that was a soft All-Ireland. They got hammered by Limerick in the Munster final. They scraped over Wexford. They barely beat Laois in the quarter-final. And Richie Hogan, it was a very 50-50 first half. Richie Hogan got a very a contentious red card. Like, I mean, has it been an impressive, like, is Liam Sheedy even the man to keep going? Like, has he introduced the players he's needed to? Like, has he made the big calls? It doesn't look like he has.
Yeah, I think the conversation that's come out, and he's done a great job, and in fairness, he's delivered in All-Ireland, regardless what terms he delivered it on.
Yeah,
he did. He delivered in All-Ireland, which, Tipperary people will always be grateful for Liam Sheedy for that. But I think where we are at now is maybe that, because Liam Cahill was involved with the underage groups in Tipperary, now he's gone to Waterford. They see what he's producing in Waterford, and maybe the comments that also Liam Cahill made, maybe Liam Cahill recognises that some of those players should be pushing in onto the Tipperary team also. Because people are saying Shamie Callan and Paddy Maher and these lads should go. I don't think they should go, to be honest. If they want to go on their own terms, let them go on their own terms. But it shouldn't be a case of they're good enough last year and now they're not good enough this year, you're gone. I think it's more the fact that people are looking now at, Liam Cahill. Maybe was he the man that was under our noses the whole time? But people weren't saying that 2 years ago. It's just when things are going bad now, people often turn around and say, "Oh, well, hindsight's a great thing. Like, we haven't won matches in so long, And again, but like you said, it's a fair point. Liam Sheedy, they've won 2 matches in 6 championship matches now, so.
No Munster in 3 years.
Yeah, but a very competitive Munster, but still no Munster. For Tipperary people,
3 hammerings by Limerick.
Yeah, Limerick have them in their bogey team as well, though, but Limerick has been everyone's bogey team really at the moment. So look, they'll have to look at it themselves. I mean, the results do speak for themselves. There's been, even in the last 24 hours, there's been a massive cry about, some of these players kind of have to move on. But look, again, I wouldn't be pushing the panic button yet. They do have a savage amount of players coming through. I think it's just maybe that we haven't seen so many of those players come through. Like Mick was saying, they only had a few players under 25 on the team, whereas Waterford seem to be a very young team. Jamie Barron we see as one of the older lads. He's 27.
Yeah.
So I think this is what people are looking at, that, well, in fairness, the spine of the team is getting older. They're on the far side of the 30s. Where are the other players coming from? I think that's the big cry at the moment, more than Liam Sheedy situations. Where are these players coming from?
Well, that's the thing. I did think Liam Cal was a bit out of order. I know he's a Tipperary man, so maybe he felt he needed to comment on it, but he said Tipperary hurling at senior level is probably at a big crossroads now, because there's a number of players there that maybe have big decisions to make over the next couple of weeks. And I suppose who are the ones they're talking about? Shane McCallan, Brendan Maher, Paddy Maher, the obvious three. Noel McGrath's only 30. He's only 31 this year. Now, why do these lads have to retire? Can Shane McCallan not be told, you'll get 20, you won't start for me next year, but I need you for the last 20 minutes because you still have a lot to offer, and the other two lads as well, and let them lead the young lads? I do agree, Mick, that Liam Sheedy has refused the big calls of dropping some of these lads. Forcing these lads into retirement, I think, is harsh.
No, because they're still brilliant hurlers, Wooly, and if you had Jamie Callanan coming on for 20 minutes, he's such a good finisher. You want him at the end of the ball. You don't need him running around like a lunatic on the pitch. So I'd be shocked to see these players walk away. And Paddy Maher has been exceptional up to date in his career. So I can't see any reason why they'd leave. But again, having the younger players, Waterford had 7 players under 25 starting the other day, and their oldest player on the pitch starting was 28. Kevin Moran comes on and does a bit. He's 34.
Yeah.
But Liam Callan manages him properly, where he can come on, do his bit, and he's off again. So again, it's about managing these older players. We talked last week about Liam Cal going to Tip. I can't see why, because the younger players are with Waterford and the talent is with Waterford. He'd have a big rebuild to do if he ever took on Tip, and I can't see why he'd want that, because he has all the youth and he has all the talent in Waterford, so I can't see him going anytime soon.
Yeah, I would have the same call in with Tyg de Burka and Pádraig Matney coming back. He might see the project being a little bit long. But Tipperary have won 2 under-20 All-Irelands. It's just Liam Cal hasn't shown us them. He's given them an old subs, roles, bench. That middle third for Tip is not able to keep going for 70 minutes. That's the obvious thing. It needs an injection. If Bubbles doesn't probably work hard enough, Jason Ford probably doesn't. He's got some classy forwards that don't like as much work as other players. There's a lot of rebuilding there to do, and whether Liam Sheedy has not given any inclination in the last 3 years that he's the one to do it. Yeah,
he's stuck to his guns really in terms of the team selection. We haven't seen much variety in the change, exactly what you're saying. So I think it'd be great for the younger players as well. If you're going to rebuild, you want to rebuild with Paddy Maher and Shane McCallan and these boys around, because if you have younger players coming through from an under 20 All-Ireland who've won All-Irelands, the idea for them to share a dressing room with these lads would be a huge starting point for them, because they go out and they're looking at these lads as their heroes that have won All-Irelands for Tipperary, and they'll want to perform by just having those lads in the dressing room alone. And like you said, Shane McCallan, as far as I could see, is still a dangerous forward for the next 2 years, 3 years, whatever he wants to do. And the idea that to push these lads out of the dressing room, absolutely not. Bring in the under-20s, get them in there and blood them alongside Paddy Maher and blood them alongside Brendan Maher, because I think it would only raise their game, and they have the makings there of being a really savagely competitive team for next year. But like Mick was saying, how do you manage that? How do you manage the performances of these players? Maybe you have to make some hard calls, and traditionally some of the lads that have started over the last few years, put them on the bench and bring them on, or play them for 40 minutes, take them off and keep that tempo going and have the young blood that can cover the ground on the pitch. But these are decisions that have to be made with Tipperary at the moment. And look, like we said, there's no panic yet. They do have the makings of it there. It's just a matter of how are they going to manage that coming into next year, and what decisions will be made. Yeah,
we'll talk about the game a little bit, because it is all about Waterford, Mick, and they set the tone early. There was 2 blockdowns. Peter Hogan definitely would won at the sideline. I think it could have been Jamie Barron, 5 points to 1, and I was like, Jesus, here there's only one team going to win it. It was obvious early that one team was firing. And, even after getting sucker punched by the 2 goals, it didn't stop Waterford. They're back in droves again.
Yeah, and it was 5-1 up, Willie, and then Shane Bennett got a ball and he went for goal. You could see Waterford's intent, they just goal mad, take your chances. But that didn't work out. He could have stuck it over the bar and it would have been 6. And the ball went back up to the other end of the pitch, and Shane McCallan got a great goal. So, Waterford could have been a lot further ahead than they were. I don't think we spoke about matchups last week. I don't think Tip got it right. Dan McCormick went on Jamie Barron. Jamie Barron ran amok in the first half. Like, he scored 4 points in the first 15 minutes, and he was crucial to the goals. He incredible player, and also Noel McGrath. I thought he would have went centre forward. He went out wing forward on Callum Lyons. That's just a wrong matchup. Like, Lyons is going to be up and down that line all day long, and Noel McGrath doesn't want to be chasing players. He wants the freedom of that half forward line. So I just think Sheedy got a few matchups wrong there that massively cost Tipperary.
Well, you see, that's the thing. But Jason Ford doesn't want to run that line either. See, this is what I'm saying. Tip need to move away from the brilliant forwards. They need to move towards brilliant forwards that are manic for working. And I don't want to go back to Tipperary now with a stick on Waterford, because they have them in droves.
They do, yeah. And something that I really noticed with Waterford, and really noticed more so yesterday, was that the half backs with Waterford were dictating to the half forward line of Tipperary, in that once Tipperary put the pressure on in the last 5-10 minutes, once Tipperary put the pressure on Waterford, the Waterford half-backs continued to push up the pitch. They didn't sit back in fear of the Tipperary half-forward line. So, like the likes of the puck-outs, you had Caleb Lyons running up the sideline going, I'm going to get underneath my own puck-out. I'm the wing-back, but I'm going to run up and support. And they won. They got a point off it. I think Montgomery came on, gave a good pass into the middle, and they got a point off it. But the confidence of the Waterford half-back line, that first of all, they're saying, well, we're playing our game. We're not playing to your game. We're playing our game, and ye come with us if you want to mark us. So, like Mick was saying, you had Noel McGrath out on Caleb Lyons, and Caleb Lyons was going, I don't care who's on me. This is my game. This is what I'm doing, and I'm running, which is, it's very threatening for any team to look at that this is the Waterford team we're playing, and regardless what we do, they're playing their own game. That to me shows a Waterford team that full of confidence, but also full of belief of what they're about, that this is what I'm doing, and whether it's the first minute, if it's the 70th minute, whether it's Noel McGrath on me, or whether it's Kyle Hayes, this is what I'm doing, and you follow me. And I just thought that was absolutely brilliant out of Waterford.
Yeah, they've no fear of anyone, and they hunt in packs. They turn over the ball. They work the ball through the hands. Like the Austin Gleeson goal was sensational. Jamie Barron, Jack Prendergast deserves all the credit, because you would have thought maybe he might tap it over. I didn't really even see the hand pass, never mind give it, and then he's just going inside the extra man, which is dangerous enough in itself. They're told just to take on your man, go for goal. It seems to me like it's all positive with Waterford.
Yeah, and Jack Prendergast was crucial for both them goals. Like, Jamie Barron gave him a great ball, and then Jack Prendergast took it into contact and gave it to Gleeson. But even for the second goal, Wooly, where like they won it, they started with a block out the field. They worked up the pitch. Again, Jack Prendergast was crucial, ran through the middle, and it was a great flick. He took a belt off Carl Barrett for the flick, but it was a great flick. And then it was a great finish by Desi Hutchinson. So I just love watching them play. They're so energetic. They don't seem to tire. They have a great game plan, and everyone's bought into it. So it's great watching it. And as you said, even if the likes of Austin Gleeson doesn't have a great day in the office, I can't see Waterford struggling. Yeah, it's brilliant to watch.
That was the thing, and even in the lead up to the Gleeson goal, it was huge intensity. I think they won that ball back.
Yeah.
Just to to be able to score that goal.
Yeah, and like Mick was saying with the second goal, with the Desi Hutchinson goal, what I thought was great about it, if you actually go back and watch it, it shows what Waterford are doing, obviously in training, that no one stands still. Once you have ball in possession, there's players running off the shoulder, and I think it was twice maybe it broke down where, let's say it was Jamie Barron, hit the ground, and straight away he knew there was going to be a runner off the shoulder, and he just popped it up.
They're nearly like offloads in rugby, aren't they?
They are, yeah, and that's the way they're doing it. They're off the shoulder each time, and you could nearly pick any clip in the match where, let's say, the ball went into the Waterford backline, Waterford got it. Look at the players around them. They all turn. It's like a U-turn. They're all turn going, right, we're getting up the pitch and we're going and we're going. So for any Waterford player that's in possession, he nearly knows if he's looking forward at the opposition's goal, he knows that somewhere behind him he has runners off the shoulder, which is a huge thing, because if he runs into trouble, he doesn't have to go turn around and look to see where a man is. He nearly can just pop it automatically, and that run, which is timed, has to be timed. It can't be a case of that you're standing there and you're taking the ball flat. You have to run and keep running on, like, so that you can take the ball on the move. Jack Prendergast was the example of that for the goal, and like you said, ran straight into trouble, drew the defenders and just popped it out to Desi Hutchinson. But what they do there, it's clearly what they're doing in training. Don't stop moving, or don't be caught standing. Move, and it's electric to watch.
It is electric. Like, I mean, Klopp called it heavy metal football. Like, I call Mayo heavy metal Gaelic football. This is heavy metal hurling. Like, this is that same massively high intensity, massive fitness rates, massive work rate to get the ball back when you lose it, and massive work rate, because everyone always thinks of work rate is to get the ball back. Massive work rate to get back up and support an attack. Like, everything is done at 100 miles an hour.
Absolutely, and like we've seen the tip teams, I suppose, always having Bonner Maher and Dan McCormick there, and they hadn't got that in the half forward line, Wooly. And that Waterford's half back line are so strong. They're so aggressive. They're so like constant attacking. and they've great vision on the ball. They don't go up and hit aimless ball at all. Like I think Kieran Bennett's usually underrated.
Yeah.
Like people don't speak about. I thought he was absolutely brilliant the other day, and he comes up every game with 2 or 3 points. And his vision on the ball for finding his brothers as well, it's great. Like so, I think they're brilliant to watch.
Yeah, wing back is definitely Bennett's best position. Kieran Bennett, he is very underrated. And even then, when Tip rallied, like Tip, the save by Sean O'Brien and John McGrath, like that was to draw it or put Tip
match,
or
one
maybe
or the
to draw
other,
it. I think there might have been only 2 in it at that stage, and Waterford were on sorts of trouble then. They were gone on their own puck-outs. They seemed to be losing them all. And then amazingly, Montgomery gets 1-1 off the puck-out.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And for that one, for the John McGrath goal, it was the one, I suppose, moment of 30 seconds where I saw Waterford kind of panic, because it was the end of the game and they knew a goal in it or 2 points in it, whichever it was. But the ball was jumping around. There was a chance of one of the defenders almost over carried the ball, went to pop it out, and Tip turned it around. But when we could very easily be sitting here talking of a Tipperary win. That's how fine it was, because only for that save, the momentum could have swung in Tipperary's favour, and then it's only a case of, a free ball over the bar, time is up, and Tipperary won. But like, Waterford were the better team. I do believe they were the better team. It would have been an
injustice,
but they could have. Tipperary still could have got the win. So, but like you said, they went down the other end, and the frantic finish, and Montgomery to come on and nearly the neck of him to go and score a goal like that. He was going through. And a lot of other lads would have said, get it over the bar, make it a 1-score match, or a goal at least, that they have to go up the other end. No, I'm going in, sticking the ball into the net, and then back up again. Jamie Barron got a point, Montgomery another point, and it was almost as if Tipperary never had a hope. Whereas, like, I do genuinely believe Sean O'Brien deserves huge credit today, and he probably won't get the credit he deserves because so much else happened in the game. But that save was enormous, and he's taken a bit of flack as well, I think, during different matches. There's been a few goals went in, but he really deserves huge credit for that save. It was enormous for Waterford.
Yeah, it was massive. He probably didn't know too much about it because it went off his hurley over the bar, didn't it, Mick?
Yeah, but I think if that was John McGrath 2 years ago, Willie, they would have been 2 goals scored by him. We thought like the one where he got blocked down on his right hand side, he should have turned on his left and scored. And this is where they're lacking that sharpness. And even Shamey Callanan, when the ball popped across and he mishit it on the ground. Yeah, just like things like that. Normally for Tip, they go in all day long, and like they should. 3 years ago, they would have been 3 goals for Tip. And I think that's where you're seeing that little lack of confidence and something missing in the camp, where I think Liam Sheedy's trying to make up with it by his motivational shouting and all. But Waterford are very lucky, and I'm happy because I think Waterford are much the better side, but it could have easily swung the other way by a few points.
Yeah, isn't it a weird one that they were, like, I mean, most people would agree they were the better side. Was it much the better side? I thought they were much the better side, and yet Tipperary could easily have been level if that goal, where you would back John McGrath 8 times out of 10 there.
Well, that's it, yeah. And it was, Waterford went 5 points to 1 up, and then Callan jumps in with a goal, and suddenly you're going, there's only a point in it for all the hurling Waterford have done. So one of the aspects I think Waterford do have to look at is, Tipperary scored the most amount ever in a championship match to lose a game. So 228, I think it was, or 227, 228, which is an enormous score to get. So the one downside that you have to look at, and you have to say, look, we're going forward, we're going to be playing Limerick and these things, there is a lot of room in behind, and Shamey Callanan did exploit that. When he got the 2 goals, there was, if you're going to flood forward, you also kind of have to flood back, because one long ball, and as we saw with Callanan's goal, he was cute enough to.
He was so cute there.
That was very clever, you know, but there was no one there covering. It was Prunty on his own with Shamey Callanan.
It was a mishit shot though, wasn't it? It wasn't an expected. I think it was a half blocked down. Yeah, it was a half blocked one. Yeah. But he was so clever. He ran clever. And Prunty was too tight for his own good.
Yeah, exactly.
Callanan spun him then.
Yeah, and he spun him. And it goes back to the argument of people saying, will Shamey Callanan move on? 2 goals in 2 minutes is the reason why he shouldn't move on. Yeah, because he can do this. If you brought him into a game 40 minutes in, 50 minutes in, and it really kept, the goals were keeping Tip in the game. And like you said, John McGrath, one criticism I would say of it was, if you look at the other goals that were scored, they were struck low, whereas just kept them that hip height that keepers could save or someone could get a block. There was a small bit of cuteness, like Mick was saying, there was just missing, but there was very little in it. And again, it goes back to that. The goals are there. Waterford are capable of letting through a few goals, which is something they'll probably just have to look at, that if we are to be doing such brilliant stuff at the other end, if we were to stop the goals happening and let teams score points, grand if they want to score them, but stop the goal opportunities, we would be really pushing for an All-Ireland now, because if you're going to do savage work and be 5 points to 1 up, it's a bit of a sucker punch to go down and let a handy enough goal in at the far end.
It definitely. Paddy Maher had a bad wide, and Jason Ford had a bad wide at a very important time as well, Mick, when Tip were trying to rally that. I think what Liam Sheedy is giving them credit for is that rally, is getting it back from 8 to 2 and could have gone level, obviously, with the goal. But that's the least I'd expect from this Tip team. Like, that Tip team's not going to roll down and die.
No, and the decision making will sort of let Tip down as well at the end. Like, Ronan Marrett was excellent. Like, he caught some amazing balls, but he caught them and then drove 2 or 3 wide, and as much as like big catch steers everyone on, a wide kills a team. And the same with Paddy Maher, he came out, and I've been critical of him over the last year or two as well, where he wins amazing balls, but he just has to get his head up and find people more rather than opening up the shoulders and trying to hit a ball 90 yards and it dribbling wide. I think it kills momentum in a team. And if they had looked up and found a man and got a score from them, inspirational catches, and like the two lads are unbelievable in the back line. But if they look up a bit more and find a man who's in a better position, it would lift Tip beyond belief, like, for the last few minutes of that game, and it just killed them odd wides, killed the game. And again, Jason Ford, we're not used to seeing him hit easy wides, but he missed a very simple wide towards the end of the game, and look, it just killed Tip's momentum.
Yeah, no, it definitely did. So, performance of the weekend, lads. Jamie Barron, again, this is every game now, Paul, 4 from play. How do you stop this fella? Right, because he's so fast. Geez, I'm nearly repeating from last week. Maybe instead of saying how good he is and how accurate he is and how do you stop him?
Yeah, I think you nearly...
A cornerback.
You nearly just have to sacrifice a player just to go and stand beside him and say, listen, you're being sacrificed, you have to go with this fella. Like Kilkenny did it in the first half against Waterford last year, where Conor Brown just followed him everywhere he went. But again, it goes back to how well Waterford are set up. Liam Cahill obviously said to Jamie Barron, Jamie, you stay away from the ball, because Jamie was going underneath the ball trying to win that ball where he wins it at the breakdown, but he pulled Conor Brown away and then managed to come back in, let's say, supporting play. So he made the runs through, and that's how he came back into the game. So the only way I think you could actually mark Jamie Barron at the moment is if you just sacrifice one of your players, go out and stand beside him. Whatever Jamie Barron decides to do, you're going with him. You're not going to play your own game. But even at that, it still mightn't be enough, because the type of game he plays, he doesn't rely on good ball, he just runs and he'll pick up the ball, and if he has a yard of space where he can just get a hand pass, that's all he needs. So
he'll wear you down. You nearly need a corner back to mark him for the first half and bring on another corner back to mark him for the second half.
Well, that's what you're talking, so it's one of those things. Again, you can't underestimate how good Jamie Barron is in that regard, where he can go out and mark a forward and keep the ball off him. But Jamie Barron, there's not much you can do to keep the ball off him, because the type of ball he's winning, it's through hard work, it's through running, it's supporting off the shoulder. Very little can be done to do it.
And the great thing, it must be great to be in the Waterford team. When you make that supporting run like Barron does, you always get it, Mick. There's nothing more demoralising than making those runs, and it might be put in or wide. Like, they know what they're about, don't they?
Yeah, as Paul said, it doesn't happen by accident. They must be working on this non-stop in training, this run off the shoulder. And when you're marking a fella and he has good timing like that and he's running off a shoulder, it's so hard to stop because he hasn't got the ball. You can't give him a dund. you try and grab him a small bit, but they're so pacey. There's not many markers around the place to have that pace. And I think you're right, Willie. We've seen with Tony Kelly and Jamie Barron, lads have stopped them for 20 minutes, 25 minutes, but not the whole game. And I think it is a thing where you're going to have one person mark him in the first half and another person mark him in the second half. I don't think one fella could keep it up for a whole game. To sacrifice the whole game for that. So we might see that now come next week.
Yeah, whether Limerick will do it, Limerick wouldn't do that. Limerick don't worry too much about the opposition. But I'm talking just in general. We're speculating here, I suppose, of how to. I couldn't see Limerick doing that. Desi Hutchinson, scored 1-3 off Cottle Barrett.
Yeah.
You're talking about a fella who's running a very tough line in there all the time.
Yeah.
He, has to win hard ball. I think it was his second point where he caught it. Dummy, I call him a dummy solo in Gaelic football, whatever you call it, a dummy, and brought it back on his other side. Just like top drawer stuff.
Yeah, it was brilliant, and it was something again that it's nearly like the evolution now of Desi Hutchinson. This was something we didn't see from before. Last year, what we were looking at was electric pace, get the ball, turn, go for goal. Whereas now he's getting clever and he's getting, I'll do a little dummy. It's not something we expected from Desi Hutchinson. Maybe more so. He's also coming further out from goal. Last year it was very much on the 14, on the 21, but the confidence of him, and that's where he's grown as well, is hugely in confidence. That get the ball, have a look, shot isn't on, little dummy, sold it. And another point again, not to bring it back to Jamie Barron, but He put that ball over and we were looking at this going, brilliant, absolutely brilliant point. But Jamie Barron was gone sprinting through the middle, looking for a goal. So all over the pitch, and it's not to go back to what we were saying previously, you can see it evident all over the pitch what they're trying to do. But Desi Hutchinson, 1-3, any corner forward in any game, if you go out and you score 1-3, your manager is absolutely delighted. That's a huge return. And again, off Cathal Barrett, who didn't really have a bad game either. Cathal Barrett was involved.
Won a few balls as well.
Won a few balls, yeah. But just, he really has to, he's such a dangerous forward and very consistent. Each week we go out, we're talking about him, and similar enough, the goal he got, just again, so simple, pulled away from his man, whipped on it, didn't panic, didn't think I have to raise this, whipped on it into the net, back out into position. He's really going well at the moment.
He is, and the fact he has so much support, Mick, means the cornerback's not sure, because Desi Hutchinson for me would always take him on, and that can get predictable. But now he's got to take him on, he's got a shot, and he's got a dummy. He could have a dummy pass or a dummy shot, because when you have so many options around you, you will know that, Paul. Sure, you know that, Mick, as well from Mark and I. Like, especially in the full back line, if you get predictable and you don't have support, the cornerback's going to know, right, well, this leg can only take me on here. So he's just so many options in his armoury, I suppose, is the point I'm trying to make. Yeah,
and Paul would know better from being cornerback, but the support play out the field is so good, Willie. It's allowing the ball come in. Whoever has the ball out coming in, they have time to look up and find Desi in the best position. And as a cornerback, it's impossible. If good ball's coming in, it's very hard to defend. You need the lads to be making blocks and making it hard for defenders coming out with the ball. That it's a 50-50 ball coming in sometimes. It gives a cornerback a chance to win it. But because the ball's so good, you can't really blame Cathal Barrett, because Desi Hutchinson's so fast and his balance has improved over the last 2 years. Like that, he was going full tilt when he threw that dummy. And I watched Cathal Barrett after it, and he just threw his head to the sky going, how can you stop that? Because his balance, he was full tilt, he stopped on a dime, and then he took off for 5 yards and stuck it over the bar. So again, he has everything in his locker, Willie, you're right. So it's impossible for a cornerback to stop if you're not getting help out the pitch.
Yeah. I have to say, I hold my hands up, Peter Hogan and Jack Prendergast are two players that I would have had down as, they're not probably, inter-county standard, and they're unreal. Peter Hogan was brilliant, 3 from play. Jack Prendergast, outstanding. Isn't that incredible? I put that down to brilliant management, because they hadn't shown it up until now. Yeah,
again, it goes back to Liam Cahill, man management. What are they good at? Ask them first of all, what are they good at? Okay, are they, because they're kind of, I suppose, a small bit lighter than some of the other players. A lot of lads go, okay, corner forward, whatever, not up the middle of the field, which a lot of lads would traditionally think, oh sure, you need bigger players up the middle. It's great that Liam Cahill has looked at it. Again, it goes back to Liam Cahill saying, this is the way we want to play. What type of players do we need in these areas? Well, we need players who aren't going to burn out very quickly. We need players who can move. We need players who have good hands.
Skillful,
and that's what these players are. And I think what these players now, so the likes of Hogan, the likes of Prendergast, because they know their job, they're loving it, they're immersed in it, and they're just running around the pitch going, this is my job, loving doing it, I'm going to get my few scores, I'm going to be selfless, I'm going to pop the ball off, my job is to tackle, my job is to run, and they just seem to love it, because they now have, I suppose, a goal in the team. They're not this corner forward that you throw on because they're light, they're not, seen it. They have so much to offer, and Liam Cahill said, right, that's what they're strong at, that's what I'll use them. And where will I use them? I'll use them straight up the middle. And like you said, none of us saw that coming, these performances out of these players, and Liam Cahill deserves huge credit for recognising this in the players. And now we all want a Jack Prendergast, we all want a Peter Hogan, it's a brilliant skill that if that's what you're turning players into, that we all want them now, because they're just so good.
Imagine Tipperary, you're at the stage, I'll trade you a Noel McGrath and a Jason Ford for a Jack Prendergast. That's the way hurling maybe is gone. Last one's Austin Gleeson. I did think it was Austin's best game. He got the official man of the match. A lovely goal, 2 incredible sidelines. He played well, I thought, without, I don't know. I thought there were fellas ahead of him for man of the match, Mick.
I was the exact same, Willie. When he was called man of the match, I was saying to myself, I actually watched it back, and look, he was influential when they needed it. He won the penalty as well as getting the scores. But again, I thought there's players that were better out there. But I suppose when Austin Gleeson does something, it's hyped up by everybody, and he did get great sidelines. He's becoming a real specialist at that now, and he was influential at times that Waterford needed him. I think that's what got him over the line. But for me, Jamie Barron or Jack Pendergrass for me were the better two to get man of the match.
Yeah, his first sideline was beautiful. His second one, that's like a long iron. That's one that stings your hands.
I was looking at it for his first. I was sitting at home watching it, and his first sideline, it went out over the net. He was on the sideline,
unreal,
65 on the 65. So he was actually further than 65 yards out. And it went over the net behind the goal. I said, there's a lot of lads who wouldn't be able to strike the ball out of their hand to do that, like, you know. But again, I was also thinking that the fact he cut 2 over the bar, I think he must have been looking at too many of the headlines during the week that Joe Canning had the 28 and his closest rival was Austin Gleeson with 9. So Austin obviously said, I may cut over 2 or 3 a match now because I'm going to beat Joe Canning. But no, in fairness, I'd agree. He had a good game, but there wasn't many players who completely stood out. Everybody really played well in the match, and there was lots of good performances. I think a few kind of honourable mentions again, the likes of Kieran Bennett and these lads, because they did huge work. And you know, he took a few hard tackles in the game. He was down towards the end as well after taking a hard tackle, but Conor Prunty grew into the game. Okay, Shamie Callan got 2 goals, but it was great mark of the man that he came back into the game afterwards and, you know, dominated really the position. So I think there was other lads who did maybe the stuff that won't get the marquee kind of attention, won't, you know, be on any sporting reels anytime soon. But so I think there was a good few performances there in that regard. But yeah, look, I mean, I won't begrudge Austin the man of the match.
Yeah, well, we're going to give Peter Hogan and Jack Prendergast sorry for ever doubting you lads performance joint award for performance of the weekend. Right, lads, we could actually spend another hour talking about that match. We'll leave it there and we'll come back and talk about the other quarter final. Yeah, so Cork are back in an All-Ireland semi-final. Is it the first time since 2013, I think I was reading? Sorry about this, Mick, but it was a handy enough win. Would that be fair enough to say?
Yeah, well, it was very disappointing. Like I tipped Dublin, I thought there was a sting in the tail after the Kilkenny match because they were missing a few players and just struggling. Like I thought they started the game very brightly, Dublin. I thought Ronan Hayes got a good ball, took on Downey, which is exactly what I wanted, and forced a good save from Collins. And then they went 2 points up, and I thought Keane Boland got another great ball and another attack and hand pass to Hayes. I thought Hayes took his eye off the ball a little bit, to be honest with you. The defender came out and he just took his eye off the ball, and I thought it was a real missed opportunity for a goal. And then Cork went up and scored 2 points on the trot. So
well, did he pull Dublin is take his eye off the ball a nice way of saying he pulled out of it?
A little bit, yeah. Like when I watched it back, the defender charged out from the goals, but I thought Hayes it was a good ball into him. I thought if he took it, it was either going to be a penalty or he would have went by with his momentum and scored a goal. So yeah, he did pull out of it a little bit. I was disappointed because he's a big lad. Now I'm not saying he's a coward, but just on this ball in particular, I thought he pulled out a little bit.
Yeah, that's those soft city dubs. Come here, Kieran Kingston said after the game, he says, goals win games. I thought this was kind of interesting. He says, goals win games, and it gave us a cushion at half time. Sometimes that can be a bad thing. It came just before half time because I felt we were a bit complacent and sloppy in the third quarter and it wouldn't be good enough next week. And like, I mean, it got me kind of thinking, like that goal did change the complexion of the game. It kind of pushed it out to 8. Does he rip up his halftime team talk then? You know, like, I mean, I'm trying to understand what he means by that, going, you know, instead of ripping into them, does he say, look, lads, you know, 8, I don't know. I'm trying to, because I remember Limerick got the 2 goals before halftime. And they didn't exactly spark in the second half. You know, it almost, would you switch off thinking it's kind of done? Yeah,
I thought the game just drifted along, really, if I'm honest. And something that I think Dublin will be disappointed in, and something I was disappointed in Dublin, was that they never really laid a hand on Cork. You know, they actually came out after the second water break, in for, let's say, the last quarter, and they started swarming the Cork lads, which they did for like the first 5 minutes once the ball was thrown in the first half. But they left a big lull, and there was a big stage I saw where Cork, if they're looking at it for next week, they should be saying to themselves, this is not the treatment we're going to get when we're going in playing Kilkenny. Because there were one example of the work rate or the lack of work rate that I saw that was missing with the Dublin forwards was Coleman got a ball and it was in around the right corner back, right half back position in the first half. It was about 15 minutes in. And he caught it and he looked up for a pass and he was kind of standing looking. There was no pass on, so he soloed it, caught it again, had a look on, nothing on, soloed it, dropped it to the ground, and no Dublin player got to him. And I was going, if that's, none of the other 3 teams, Waterford, Limerick or Kilkenny, would let you do that. So I think Cork would only play who was in front of him. I think if Kieran Kingston was looking at it, he would recognise that Dublin didn't come to the pitch of the game and Cork could only play who were in front of him. So if I was Cork, I'd be going, okay, we played well, we got 2 good goals. But again, even if you go back to Tim O'Mahony's goal, I mean, he ran from the right half-hour position to the edge of the 21 and no one touched him. Things like that, Cork should be looking at going, if I was Kieran Kingston, saying, okay, we can only play what's in front of us, but we're not going to get away with that in the semi-final either.
Yeah, well, the reason he did that, Mick, I'll throw this one to you, is because Liam Rush jumped in for the kind of Hollywood hit on the, the lad running through. And traditionally you want your centre-back to do that, but I remember being told, I think I was at senior level, we didn't want anyone doing that because that's the easy way out. Like, you'll only get one of those Hollywood hits 1 out of 10, and Tim O'Mahony's light on his feet. The hard thing is to actually put your hands out and run with him and try and take the ball off him. That's the hard work. It's not a crowd-pleasing one, but I thought Liam Rush jumped in, as a centre-back, because now the centre's completely open and it's a goal.
Yeah. The time to hit like that, Willie's on the sideline where there's nowhere the forward can go, and if he hits you, if you hit him, it's grand. If he doesn't, he's over the sideline, it's grand. But that was an open space where he had space left and right. Rushy just sold himself completely. But it annoyed me before that. Robbie O'Flynn got the ball inside his own half and burst through Chris Crummy and Donald Burke. They both had him. They were both either side of him, and he burst through the two of them. And we spoke with this last week. There's a difference between bottling them up, and they allowed him to get the hand pass off. And it shouldn't happen because they had him in front of him. He got through the two of them, and he popped it off to Tim O'Mahony. And Tim O'Mahony picked that ball up just inside the 65. So it was way out the pitch, and no one met him. And annoyed me then with the cornerbacks. They sort of minded their own men instead of coming to meet him, because at that stage you have to go and meet him. If it gets popped over your head, it's not your fault.
Yeah, so give O'Mahony a decision to make.
Exactly. So no one came to meet him. They sort of stayed minding their own men, and it was a simple goal. So really frustrating from Dublin, because as Paul said, in sports they worked hard, but nowhere near the tempo of the game for championship.
What would you do in that situation, Paul? Like, I mean, you obviously you don't want your own man to score. But at what point do you go out to him? Because, like, I mean, this is a wing back who might not be as used to bearing down a goal as a forward. Yeah. Like, I mean, you rush out to him, he could give a loopy hand pass over your head. Now the goalie comes out and clears it. To not go out and meet him at all is technically very bad cornerback play, no?
Yeah, it is. And often, I've been involved with a few underage teams. We'd be giving them these situations, because often lads would say, well, what do you do in this situation where you have an overlap? Like, for me there's two things that happen there. Cornerback has to decide when he goes to meet him, but the keeper has to be telling him, go, like literally making a call. Anytime we would have done that, Owen Murphy would have been shouting, literally, you see the overlap is coming, and Owen Murphy would start going, stay, and then he'd shout, go. And once you go running at him, then you're hoping just to put him off. You're hoping to get there, get a block, throw your body in front of it, clean him out of it if you're going to do anything, if you're going to get to him. But then Owen Murphy's also standing, is he going to wind for a shot? And if not, the man who's on the overlap, Owen Murphy's now running to him to hit him. So this is something they should know. Like, an overlap is going to happen in matches. What are you going to do? But for nobody to come near him, exactly what Mick said, nobody come near him, worry about your own man. You're just going, everybody's worried about their own little patch here now. You're not worried about the team as a whole. The bottom line is here, there's, not to be using Mick as the fireman here, but the fire bell's ringing here, there's a goal on. You have to start running out and hitting lads here now. And if a goal goes in, it goes in, but lay a hand on him at least and give it a chance.
Yeah, he made it too easy. So it was poor defending by rushing in, excuse the pun, and the cornerbacks technically kind of was poor. Now, don't want to be too hard on Rush, because he hit young Barrett in the second half fairly well. He got a terrible yellow card, but he put his hands out, and I didn't think it was a yellow card, but you're not getting past me, a good strong arm like that, Mick.
Yeah, and that's exactly what was needed at that time with Tim O'Mahony. Well, look, it's difficult when someone's coming at you full tilt, but Rushy's strong enough that when he puts the arm out, he gets caught a few times over the years because he is so strong and physical. When he puts that arm out, lads drop, and he has got a yellow card in the past for it. But that's what was needed against Tim O'Mahony that time, just to put that big arm out. And even if he drew a free, look, it's a free, it's 45 yards out, no harm done. And you're letting lads know you're not going to run through the centre of the pitch again, where it was the opposite effect happened. Cork said, we're going to attack this all the time. And Dublin really struggled with Cork's. I know Cork's forwards are pacey, but Dublin allowed them way too much space around the middle of the park, and it killed Dublin. Like, Dublin had a spare man, Wooly. And it was irritating me from puckouts where the spare man was standing in the centre of the pitch beside centre back. So Rushy and Conor Burke were sort of beside each other. I think one of them should have went to the wing and allowed the half back on the other side of the pitch, saying, well, the ball has to come over here. I'm going to stand in front because I know there's no way it's gone over to the other side of the pitch. I think Dublin missed a beat there where they didn't utilise the spare man well enough.
Right, okay, and usually they do utilise the spare man, but there was 8 in at half time, Paul, and look, it was a bright start by Dublin, but the reality is Robbie O'Flynn should have scored a goal. It was a brilliant save by Al Nolan. Jack O'Connor could have had a goal coming in along the sideline. They scored 2 goals. You know, after maybe a bright 10 minutes from Dublin, this was a fairly, you know, easy win for Cork.
Yeah, and they allowed Cork to grow into the match. Like, Seamus Harnedy has now put kind of 2 good games together, but if you look at the points Seamus Harnedy got, you know, his man was standing off him a small bit. It was 2 puckouts that went, you know, 80 yards into Seamus Harnedy. He turned, took on the man and over the bar. There were so many things wrong there that you say shouldn't be happening. At least if you're going to be 50-50, spoil the ball, let it get to the ground. But if you're playing Cork, you know this is what they want to do. They want to pick out a man from a puckout. They want their forwards to run. And even if you get caught the first time, you should be saying this shouldn't happen the second time. But it kept happening. So you were saying that it really around the pitch, you know, Dublin let so many things happen that it was avoidable, that if it happened the first time, they shouldn't let it happen the second time. And like you said, there was more goal opportunities. And considering Dublin started really well, they just went out of the game. It wasn't a case that they were never in the game. They looked, from when the moment the ball was thrown in, they looked the sharper team. And I was going, yeah, Dublin are up for this. This is going to be a tough one. And they just drifted out of it completely, forgot what they were about, and the game was over by the time they decided to come back into it.
Yeah, like, I mean, from the positives from Dublin, like Ronan Hayes is a bit of a handful. Now, I don't know, I'd say he'd be limited enough, but he had no support any real time, Mick. Like, I mean, when you compare to Desi Hutchinson now, he didn't have support. He had to take on his man. He wasn't that good at it. Downey had his measure, and the only time Cian O'Sullivan got close to him, he got a handy little hand passing over the bar. You know, like, I mean, you can build a forward line around Hayes. He's not the best hurler in the country, but he'll run the lines. But you need to get up beside him, or else, you know, because he has to have that hand pass off.
Yeah, and Dublin have struggled with this, Wooly, this year. I think, like, when they give the ball in, he does damage and he looks threatening. But then they stop for some reason. Like, maybe 2 balls went in early in the game, and I said, oh, look, he's caused a bit of trouble here. Then it just stops. And then you see a few clips last night on a Sunday game where, like, Robbie Downey came out and won a ball in the half-back line, but your full forward shouldn't be out near the halfway line. You need him in full forward and causing trouble for goals. He shouldn't be coming out that far. So, like, the ball's just not going in. And look, I know Trollier's been missing and he's out with a long injury. He's another goal threat that Dublin, I think, need in the full forward line, but they just don't look menacing enough. Like, they look like they're holding on. They look like they were holding on to Kilkenny for a long time. They look like they were just holding on to Cork. They never look like they were going to go ahead and win either game. And it's just something Matty Kenny really has to work on if he stays now for next year. It's
hard to see work on, because even when they got it back to 4, just there was never a feeling they'd get a goal, and they had to get a goal.
Yeah, they had to get a goal, and it was just this thing. It just seemed like a kind of a dying rally. Like, they got a bit of a rally, but then Cork were going, no, we're just going to keep you at arm's distance here now, and that's what they did. And in fairness to Cork, you know, that is something they did. Once they got in front, Cork didn't crumble. Cork just kept them at arm's distance. But no, like, it just seemed that, first of all, it just seemed too late in the day when the rally came, you know, and it seemed to be this kind of dying flutter of, we got a few points, but you never thought that, oh, Cork are threatened here. They didn't look threatened.
No, like, I mean, Dublin from the Cork puckouts, like, I mean, they'd be man marking Cork, and I think that's madness. Like, I mean, Cork struggle against Limerick staying in their positions because they don't really know what to do with them. But I think any team now, Mick, that is following their men around from puckouts, I think it's silly, because they're going to pull you where they want you to be. Do you know what I mean? Instead of keeping players in areas to close those areas off.
Yeah, and with Cork's pace, Wooly, it's not a team that you really want to go man for man, because if you give a lad 20 yards of space to run into, they're going to beat anyone, no matter who you're marking. So, like, I think Dublin missed a beat there, and it was the gap between the lines that annoyed me. Like, between our half forward line and Dublin's half back line, there was always 30 yards of space, and that's where they were finding Harnedy and Robbie O'Flynn, and these lads were finding that space. I think Dublin's midfielders got caught up. Obviously, you can't let Dara Fitzgibbon and Luke Meade go, but they just didn't. The spare man was sort of marking nobody in the middle there, and I think if he had taken up one of them spaces, it would have allowed the rest of the half back line to defend much easier. And you can't allow their half forward line just pick up the ball in between your half forward and half back line, and because they run at you, you're not going to stop them 1-on-1, and that's what happened.
Yeah. What are the positives for Cork then? Like, I mean, they ran up a decent score. I wouldn't have coming out of a game thinking Cork or back or anything like that now. Like, I mean, they've a huge test the next day. We won't go into that. I suppose Mellerick is a big plus. He did well on Sutcliffe, and Tim O'Mahony did great on Crummy. Crummy wasn't in the game at all. I suppose they're 2 pluses. Fitzgibbon hasn't sparked. I'm not sure their forwards have really sparked.
No. again, I watched the Sunday game last night and they were very complimentary of Cork, but I was kind of thinking I must have been kind of watching a different game, because I felt they didn't do anything that I was going to, let's say me as a Kilkenny supporter saying, we're in trouble next week. Now, Cork are always capable of turning up and bringing this electric game. If they do that next week, yeah, but I don't see exactly at the moment where it's coming from. And I also think as well, Tim O'Mahony had a great game, absolutely, at wing back, but I think there's going to be a few more questions asked of him next week against Kilkenny in terms of, right, let's say if TJ Reid goes out there, or you have Owen Cody out there, or whoever, you're going to put someone out there that asks questions. And now will Tim O'Mahony be too quick to run up the pitch knowing that he's leaving TJ Reid off? So these are the questions that I think that Dublin didn't ask of Cork, which allowed Cork to play this sort of a game. And me as a Kilkenny supporter looking at it would go, I'd be happy enough that Cork maybe have the confidence up now thinking we're flying it. You're going, are you flying it? The jury's still out on that at the moment. No doubt they have the players. Patrick Horgan is tipping away. He's getting his scores. He threatened for a goal yesterday, went over the bar, in the weekend on Saturday, but went over the bar. So he's still threatening. But
he didn't rattle the net there. I was surprised.
That's what I thought. I mean, Jack O'Connor again made his similar runs again. He's the one player I think for Cork that's playing with a bit of an edge. He's threatening this yellow-red card the whole time. He got sent off 2 matches ago, yellow card the last. He's laying a hand on a few guys, and I think a few more of the Cork lads need to do that a small bit more, get a bit more physical, get a bit more in lads' faces. Kingston had a good game as well, but no, for me now, I'd still be going, I'd rather Kilkenny's side of the draw than the other side, but I'll put it that way.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I remember the big criticism of Cork during the league where they were very tippy-tappy and very possession-based. They're a little bit more direct than that now, Mick, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Well, they have dangerous forwards where if you get the ball in quickly, they'll hurt you. I think Jack O'Connor's been excellent. But again, we just didn't learn enough about them. That's what irritated about me that game. Dublin didn't ask enough questions, so we don't really know too much about Cork at the moment. They were in third gear and they bet Dublin quite handily. So, as Paul said, Kilkenny won't fear them after watching that, and I don't think any of us have learned a huge amount from them. I was very impressed. I think Tim O'Mahony's been excellent throughout the campaign, but again, Crummy you're a half back playing half forward, and I think he gets lost in a few games. Crummy's an unbelievable work rate and leader, but in the half forward position, I think half backs can take advantage of it because he makes runs and gets into space where he probably shouldn't be, and be watching the half back a bit more. So again, we just don't know enough about Cork after that Dublin game.
Yeah, no, probably not. Matty Kenny, I'll throw this back to you, Mick. Matty Kenny said after game, the more we get exposed to this, the better we will deal with it in the future. Are we making progress? Of course we are. This team is getting better. It's getting better every year. We just have to go on again, get our heads down and learn from the little mistakes that happened here tonight. Again, a positive spin like most managers put on it. What's your take on it? From reading that, it sounds like he wants to stay on, that they've made enough progress maybe for him to stay there.
Yeah, I think they should stick with Matty anyway, but it hasn't been huge progress, Wooly. There has been a little progress, but it's very slow and tedious. And the problem for me is the conveyor belt isn't great at the moment in Dublin. So when you're looking for players to come in, it's a little bit worrying. I'd change up. Look, Owen O'Donnell's a huge loss for Dublin and a huge loss for Matty Kenny. Next year, I'd be looking at him to go out into the half back line, maybe centre back, and just have that athleticism and dominance around the place where he'll hit lads left, right, and centre. He's a great hand, and we just need a few more leaders around the place. I'd have Crummy back and just have a bit more stability in Dublin. We're so inconsistent at the moment where you can go out and look, we've beaten Galway in Championship in the last 2 years, and they've been huge games. Then you go out and lose to Laois and have such the last 2 performances for Dublin have been so poor.
Yeah.
So it's just inconsistency, and we have to work on it. But I think I definitely stick with Matty because of COVID and all, years have been broken up. I'd give him a full year at it properly and see what we can do. But it's been slow progress.
Yeah, the Bowell Davy Fitz is floating around there now as a free agent. So it's hard. Have they made progress? Now, obviously, beating Galway is huge. Galway have proved that they weren't great. The last 2 games didn't look like progress to me.
No, they went backwards from the performance we saw against Galway. I think everybody was coming away from Croke Park that day going, this Dublin team, whatever they've sorted out or they needed to sort, they've done it. And now but they then just went back, they reverted to type again. They just went backwards, and we're going, hang on for a second. What you showed us against Galway are capable of doing, and they are capable of doing. Okay, they had Owen O'Donnell picked up the injury and they had the COVID situation against Kilkenny, but they didn't stick to at least the hard work and the graft and the things they could control. Okay, they were dealt a hard blow, but they could have still very well went out against Cork and against Kilkenny and at least put in a savage effort, and no one would have faulted them over that. So the way I look at it at the moment is anytime, from 2011 once I started with Kilkenny, we always, not that we fear Dublin, but we always knew we were going to be, it was going to be a savage battle. Whether you played them in Nolan Park, Crow Park or Parnell Park, the teams Mick would have been on, you always looked at them and said, these lads are a savage team and they're intimidating and they'll get in your face. And the Dublin team I see at the moment, I don't, when we were going out the last few years looking at them, that wasn't the feeling. You were saying they're great players and they are capable once they spark, but they're not aggressive. They're not in your face.
The bite has gone out.
The little bit of the bite was gone, where I think that's something that we associate with Dublin teams, is that they're aggressive, they're hard running. They nearly invented this hard physical running that we didn't see in other teams. They were the team, I think, that brought this to the table. And I think, if anything, they've gone backwards now, that they're not sticking, they're probably trying to play too nice hurling at the moment, instead of going, get into teams' faces, we're full of confidence, use it, get up in lads' faces, let teams know we're here. I think they've gone back a small bit, regardless whether it's under Matty Kenny or not. They've gone back a small bit in their ways. Is
there an argument to say that the new modern style of hurling doesn't suit Tip, doesn't suit Dublin, mightn't suit maybe even Kilkenny? We're struggling to adapt to it or getting there. At least they're showing people that they can change around.
Yeah.
But the teams that are used to that, maybe more of a traditional style of hurling, are struggling to get to grips with the Liam Cahill styles and the new Davy Fitz style, or Davy's not too new now, Limerick, which have a lot of football influence from Connacht. Is there an argument to say that?
Well, it's tough, Willie, because 3 years ago, if you had told me this was the style of hurling that was being played, I would have been over the moon, because Matty Kenny played this style with Coola before really anyone else was doing it. He loves the running off the shoulder. I've played against that Coola team so many times, and they were relentless for running up the pitch, that support play, that off the shoulder. So this is Matty Kenny's bread and butter. This is the game plan Matty Kenny had at club level. So I was so excited to see when he came to Dublin how he'd implement it, and he hasn't. And that's been played, as you said, by all the top teams now, Waterford and Limerick. And I don't see why Dublin aren't playing it, because he knows how to play it, he knows how to manage it. And again, I just think it's getting the personnel into them positions. Your two half-backs have to be ultimate athletes and being able to get up and down that pitch. And again, I just think with a bit of personnel change, if you have Crummy there, and Dara Gray's been excellent for Dublin this year, and he gets up and gets 2 or 3 points a game, there's two athletes on either wings that aren't there at the moment, that aren't being played there. And I just think he's trying to cover up cracks throughout the pitch with our best players. So you haven't got our best players in our best positions, and that's what's hurting Dublin at the moment. But he is the man to do that, because this was his game plan. He did this before anyone else was doing it at club level, So I think if he works on it throughout the summer and he goes back to what he does best and playing that game plan, we might see it implemented better next year.
Yeah, exactly. Performance of the weekend, lads. Tim O'Mahony, I suppose, 1-1. Listen, you can criticise Liam Rush or the Dublin defence. It was still a great sidestep to Rush, and it was a lovely finish as well, and a point, an all-action performance. But that's the type of player he is, Paul, and I suppose because he's so all-action, you're wondering where's his best position. I think that wing-back is his best position.
Yeah, I think this new wing-back position is his best position. It is allowing him to attack up the field, but he kind of, I saw there was great leadership out of him as well, where there was a puck out there towards the end of the match. He caught it, he took a hard tackle off Danny Sutcliffe, and it actually rose the Cork crowd, which was something they do need. They do need the crowd, or they do need, I suppose, to make these gestures for the crowd to get behind them. And Cork will always kind of get their back up then, and they'll play that bit better. But he wasn't just doing the nice stuff of putting the ball over the bar. He was putting in hard tackles, and he was winning the ball, winning high balls as well. So in fairness to him, great performance. And definitely one of the big leaders for Cork going forward. Yeah,
definitely. Donald Burke, he was one of the bright sparks, I suppose, or bright points for Dublin. He got 5 from play. Dublin need another 2 of Donald Burke. That's the reality of it here. They need Donald Burke plus 2 more of him.
Yeah, he's the outball all the time, Willie. And look, he's had a fantastic year. I think next year will be a bit more difficult, because lads be wide to how good he is, and he won't get that space that he's been given this year. But he's been excellent for Dublin all year. And again, you just need, if he's going to be marked, you need other Dublin lads to stand up. At the moment, it's just not happening.
Yeah. Jack O'Connor, can you believe, I think I was reading this fella didn't get on the under-21 team when he was there, that he is very predictable, but he's still very hard to stop, and the Cork crowd love him now. He's almost become I'll never forget, I was down at the Cork Clare, was it a Munster final? It could have been a Munster final in Thurles, and Jeez, the crowd loved Horgan. Hoggy was everything. Hoggy, like, I mean, Jack O'Connor's could be taken over from Hoggy here because, listen, the reality is when he gets the ball in his hand, you'll probably will stand up.
Yeah, and he reminds me much of the Cathal Nocton role that he used to have for Cork.
Similar runabout.
Get the ball, and straight away the crowd are shouting run, because he is electric and he's huge pace. And why wouldn't you run to the defence every time you can do that? Like, you know, with the pace he has, and he has a bit of an edge to him as well. You know, he's not afraid to mix it with lads. He seems to. I said it earlier about getting the yellow card and the red card. He does play on the edge, which, you know, happy days. You have a forward in there that's going to put it up to a corner back inside. But yeah, it does have this. It's like looking back at the old Cathal Nocton of getting the ball and he was turning and running and the Cork crowd were standing on their feet. So he has this sort of this crowd pleasing sort of aspect to him.
He does. And like, would one criticism of him, Mick, I'm just throwing this out there, like, because he takes you on the outside the whole time, he finds himself running in along the end line a lot at a bad angle. Now, we tried an overhead smash. Like, I mean, I'm sure the degree of difficulty on that now must be off the charts to be, you know, to lose it even maybe in your eye. But is he afraid to step back in the field because he's so small and light that, you know, when he gets away from the contact, he doesn't want to ever risk getting more? I don't know.
I don't think he's a bar of fear in him, Wooly. But
no, I don't think it's fear. I just don't think that.
Yeah. I just think his pace, like, not many people can take you on the outside all the time because you can have that straight angle back to the goals, but no defender seems to be able to stick with him. But I think it will come with a bit of experience that if he does take you on the outside, he'll cut across you more and either get the foul, cornerback will have no chance to foul you, or he'll cut across inside and make a bigger angle on goals. Look, that will come with experience, but with his pace and his confidence, I love the way he loves contact. I love the way he loves taking someone on. So I think in the next 2 games and the next year or two, we'll see him scoring way more goals because he'll just have that bit of experience to cut across a defender and either take the foul or open up the goals for himself.
Is that the thing, Paul? Like, I mean, I presume at that angle, you'd be almost like, geez, you know, he puts a few in the side net and he puts a few, you know, like, I mean, what does he need to improve on there to from a corner forward's perspective?
I think it goes back to what we're saying about Desi Hutchinson. Do something he's not expecting. Like, this is what we're expecting each time. So he's keep him out towards the end line. Very hard angle to score. If you even just squared it back across, then you're causing problems because you don't have to go for a goal every time. I think there was 1 or 2 Cork lads. The pass mightn't have been on, but there was lads available around the 14 that he might have even said flick it back across and let them have a shot because, like you said, you're batting the ball with a very hard angle to try and get it in.
Yeah.
So I think we're going back to what we're saying, like with Desi Hutchinson. Do something they're not expecting. Maybe cut back inside and go straight for goal as opposed to going right around him. You have the pace, so why not run directly at goal? So he maybe just has to add a few more strings to his bow and have the cornerback going, right, I know he's electric, but he also might just take a step back and knock it over the bar and have the cornerback guessing.
Yeah, or give it to a runner, Mick, maybe once, and now the cornerback's wondering what's he doing. And I do find, like, I mean, predictable players, they'll eventually get found. I know it's kind of his first year, but if he keeps doing what he's doing, I know he's fast, someone will meet him or someone will, you know, or they'll cut the angle off quicker. You know, I suppose in your first season when I don't think it's his exact first season starting every game, I can't see that being long-term, tactic of attacking every time.
Yeah, you're right, Willie. Like, as Paul said, if he make you question yourself as a defender, like if he turns inside once and then pulls up all of a sudden, you mightn't be going that full tilt next time because you're expecting that turn, and then he could leave you for dead and cut inside and make the angle easier for himself. So look, he will. He's going to learn. It's experience, and he's playing so well in Championship as it is. So he's only going to get better. And with Hoggy beside him and other class players, Harndy, like they'll be in his ear telling him, like, cut inside, pop the ball in, make him question themselves, and it'll make his work a lot easier then down the line.
Yeah, definitely. Want to give a shout out to Offaly lads who won the Christie Ring. 41 points. Holy shit. People aren't sure if it's a record or not. Like, I mean, I'd say surely it is. I haven't seen it.
Surely. Yeah, it must be a record. Yeah, great win for him. And 41 points. It was remarkable score. And it seems strange just to say it, 41 points in a game. But no, it's brilliant. Look, again, they're in Joe McDonough for next year. But again, it's not somewhere Offaly want to be. They'll be targeting again going towards Ian McCarthy. And that mixed with the footballers and the under-20s, that there's kind of a feel-good factor back in Offaly at the moment, and they deserve credit. And I'll, I suppose, give the shout-out to my Kilkenny ex-teammates as well who are doing the work down there. But no, it's great. Again, even the backing of Shane Lowry, Michael Dignan as chairman, there seems to be a good vibe in Offaly, which we all want to see. You know, Offaly are a great GAA county, not just hurling but also football. So, great win for them yesterday. Something to celebrate after a few years of not having a trophy down there.
Yeah, exactly. And they'll probably come in favourites to win the Joe McDonagh along with Antrim next year. Shows the level. I suppose Michael Fennelly in his interviews, I didn't hear any of his interviews, they say we've a lot to work on next year now. We didn't score any goals.
Yeah, you can imagine. No, it's good, Willie, because only a few years ago, the amount of doom and gloom coming out of Offaly was incredible. And they were really a county in trouble. And Michael Fennelly, Michael Duignan, they've done a fantastic job, and I love the positivity coming out of the county now. I know they're going to be looking higher than the McDonagh, but one step at a time, and it's huge progress in the county, and I love to see it. I love to hear it because they're a great hurling county.
Yeah, exactly. Nicky Rackard Cup won by Mayo. Keith Higgins got to climb the Hogan Stand. You won't be able to relate to this. 6 All-Ireland finals he's lost.
Yeah.
Football finals, and he climbed the Hogan Stand steps as captain.
Yeah.
Scored 7 points, 5 from play. Played corner forward and was all over the field. I think he won a penalty as well. You'd need a heart of stone not to feel good for Keith Higgins.
Yeah, he's a great fella. Been lucky enough to meet him a few times, and just real down to earth lad. And again, no one would have begrudged him if he went off into the sunset after retiring with the Mayo footballers. But to turn around, it shows his genuine love for hurling that he turned around. And yeah, look, it's not. We're all after saying it's not the cup he wanted to win, and I couldn't get over. I knew obviously he'd lost. As everyone knows, I lost All-Irelands with Mayo, but I couldn't get over it was 6. When I saw it was 6, I was going, Jesus, that's some heartbreak for a fella not to have done it. But it's a great testament to the man that he got to lift the cup yesterday. Like you said, great contribution with 7 points as well. So look, it's brilliant. It's a great story from the weekend for Keith Higgins to be lifting finally up the Hogan Stand, lifting a trophy. Yeah, no, it definitely is. And the Lowry Mar was won by Fermanagh. So I was up in Bundoran about a month ago, and a fella from Fermanagh, Rory O'Donnell, came over to me. He was involved with the Fermanagh team, and he loved the podcast. And remember we were talking, Paul, in here about pushing a man up on the sweeper, and you were dead against that. And then I spoke about it the following Thursday, and Conal Keaney said, I'd like to see that someday. And he was saying, I love that chat because Cavan play a sweeper, and we're not sure now, we might push a lad up on him. And we were talking about it for ages, and he says, I love that kind of chat. And he was mad passionate into hurling. And they went out and they lost to Cavan then the following weekend. And did they push a man up?
In the group game. I don't know. So I'm hoping they didn't. Well, we'll never know. This could be the definitive answer.
Well, we need to get him on here. We need to find out, because myself and Conal Keaney, one of us has to be right. So.
Because they lost to Cavan then the following weekend, and it was mad looking for the result, and then destroyed Cavan in the final. So they might have tried one day and lost, and won one day and won. We need to find this out this answer. I'll be asking.
Are you taking the credit here, Will?
Well, no, listen, I'm kind of on for trying pushing it up on it, but I'm interested in those conversations. We could have the definitive answer here. I'll have it for Thursday.
You had a hurling workshop up in Bundoran a few weeks ago, as I was telling us.
Yeah, and I had a good few cans on board, so I don't know how.
I'd say you were quiet then.
Right, lads, we leave it there. Congratulations to Fermanagh, Mayo and Offaly in those matches as well. So we'll leave it there. We'll be back on Thursday. Huge games next weekend. All-Ireland semi-finals. I'd love an extra week for them, lads, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Too much coming on the back. Give us a week to breathe. But anyways, they're not giving it to us. So we'll be back on Thursday and we'll preview the semi-finals. So we'll talk to you all then. Good luck.